Hi, and welcome to yet another video on our channel. So we are VA Central, and we are a recruitment agency that does virtual assistance for businesses in the UK. All of our VAs are based in South Africa. My name is Nikki Strachen, and joining me today is Latia Snyder.
Hi everyone, nice to be here with you today. Thank you, Nikki. My name is Lydia. I've been working remotely with Nikki for the past 3 years. And yes, excited to jump deeper into some stats about women empowerment. Yeah?
Yes, that's correct. So thanks for giving a little intro on what we're talking about. So we do feel very passionate about women in a state agency. And, we want to have a deeper look at some stats and then have a discussion about how those stats might change and offer some solutions to, challenges that women in a state agency are facing in the UK industry specifically. But I'm sure it's going to relate to other industries across the world as well. So women in the state agency stats, some that I want to start with is, so according to Forbes magazine, quoting UK government research, firms with more women on their boards outperform their rivals with 42% higher return on sales, 66% higher return on invested capital, and 53% higher return on equity. Other research has found that teams which involve women are more intelligent than teams made up of men alone. So these, of course, are some positive stats that I'm dealing with you or sharing with you on women in a state agency. Next one, as of the fourth quarter of 2023, there were approximately 207,000 women employed in the real estate sector in UK, compared with 205,000 men. And the number of qualified female professionals has at least risen from a mere 5% in 1990 to 18% today. So those are some positive stats, Latia. If you're having a look just merely at the amount of women in a state agency, it's 2,000 more than men. I think that stat might shock some people.
I think it would. But I'm going to let you finish what you want to say, and then we'll dive deeper.
So yes, those are some positive stats. But of course, as everything has an upside, there's a downside to everything as well. So let's have a look at the more negative stats that we have for you today. So one is recent figures from RICS reveal a significant lack of women at a senior level in the property industry. Of the number of members who have achieved fellowship status, only 4% are women. And then the next stat, only 13% of estate agencies are owned by women. So if you're looking at that stat, it's kind of still apparent that even though, Natia, we're more women in the estate agency industry, there is a significant difference in, leadership in women in estate agencies.
It's actually quite sad if you look at it like that, because generally when we even chat with a lot of clients, they love, employing women. They love having women on board because we have that motherly touch, that caring side of us that babies a business in a positive way, if I can call it
empathy.
That. We really, yes, very empathetic, but also very good at burping and, cooking dinner at the same time.
Multitasking.
If you could take it into context, I think having women on board, a lot of clients, want women, don't even look at employing men, no offense, but because of this ability to multitask and really take it to the next level, it's actually quite sad to see that so few of them are the leaders or the owners of the business. But it's something that we also, resonate with, looking at, wanting to have children, growing your family, and the women playing such a vital role in all of that. Men, obviously, dads are very important as well, but it's like women are the glue of everything. And so are they in business. They kind of just stick everything well together. But yeah, trying to do the best of both worlds isn't always easier.
Yeah, I also recently read that, people are more willing to do business with businesses that are owned by both women and men, or that they can see there's both women and men in the business. as opposed to doing business with companies that have only men. Because of course, having both women and men, it's more the entire picture. It's more evolved, it's more progressive, it's more, there's going to be more detail, because men have their strengths, but women have their strengths. Of course, I'm not saying all men are the same and all women are the same. Each of us are very much unique. But if you look at statistically, or in general, there are factors that differentiate women from men. And that's why it's actually beneficial having both in your business. So just touching also on what you were mentioning now, Latia, there's a stat from the Guild interviews that I thought you'd like to mention.
Yes, they say 4 out of 5 female estate agents commented on children and that the support structure was not great for them. And this is something we're obviously going to dive in deeper to discuss. But if I just look at some of my friends that stay in the UK, that's not necessarily even in the property industry. When they initially immigrated with their partners, husband usually goes over first, gets the ball rolling. And a lot of people did that so that they could, grow better and start a family. And for the first 3 years of their children's lives, it was actually more financially more affordable. But in reality, it was better for them to stay at home than go work and put a child in daycare, because they would actually end up in the minus. It was cheaper for them to just not work, which is weird. It's mind blowing. How do you earn less than what childcare provides? On an average salary, it's actually, everything else.
Certainly, I mean, if you're looking at, that stat, I mean, it's clear that we've really got this massive challenge for women in the state agency in terms of those who want to start a family, those who want to be present in their children's lives, and then also be able to afford that. And you'd think, in our modern day and world that we'd be long past those issues, but clearly it's not. If 4 out of 5 female estate agents are saying this, it's clearly still a challenge that we are very much facing today. So Latia, I know last week, you posted 2 stories on your LinkedIn that was very touching and inspiring, and I'd love if you could share those 2 stories with us.
Yes, I would love to, go a bit deeper into that, Nikki. I love creating awareness. I don't think it's just in the UK. I think it's a worldwide thing that people still want to be stuck in a 70s mindset where the wife has to cook and clean and bring up the children, but they also wanted to bring in an income, because life has become so expensive that nobody can just survive on the husband's income anymore. In a normal society, of course, there are very wealthy men and women don't have to work, but we also want to work. I mean, I love to work. I don't just want to sit at home, bake cookies and run around barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. But I also really miss being a mom. It's such a catch-22, isn't it? So some of the stories I did share was about some of the ladies that actually ended up becoming really great friends of mine, purely based on me sharing my story on social media. So, I mean, I've had quite a bad run myself the last couple of years, especially through COVID, wanting to grow my family and having a really difficult journey during my pregnancies, medical condition where I actually get really sick with the babies as they were getting sick, and losing 3 children in the process, and still having to work full time because time doesn't stop. There's no time to be sick, or there's no time to grieve. And I was in the corporate world and I wasn't working remotely, and it was really difficult to balance everything, and I felt like I lost myself completely. I remember with one of the losses with my last baby, my employer literally asked me to be back at work the next day because it was such a simple procedure. And I just did what was expected, and it broke my heart as much as it broke my heart seeing other people's stories. So, I shared this on social media, and I had these 2 girls. Actually, they literally became my friends through loss. So the one girl that I mentioned, Rochelle, actually lost her daughter, and I reached out to her on Mom Life, which is a big, social media group in South Africa with I think over 100,000 mothers. Such a small world at the end of the day. We actually ended up coming from the same town and we went to the same school, but we did for 8 years. So we never knew each other back then. But I was allowed to walk this journey with her and help her. she had a rainbow. She fell pregnant, had a little rainbow, but she had like anxiety, like I can't even explain to you, because if you haven't lost a child, you just don't get it. And she had this fear of putting a child in a creche at a very young age. And again, affordability, nannies are a little bit more expensive in South Africa than just having a creche. But there's so many scary stories about a creche as well. You know, putting your little infant when they can't speak, putting your baby in that school and not knowing if they're gonna, you know, survive the first year of their life. So being able to open a door for her where she could become a remote worker and actually work from home and be a mom, it warmed my heart. So she did actually then get a part-time nanny that could cover the most vital hours till the time her husband gets home, but she could also go back working full-time. And she's grown so much ever since she joined, you know, the virtual assistant family. So the second story is also a mom that I ended up becoming really good friends with, because I shared a poem on social media about where I was in life dealing with grief and how I handled it. And at the end of that post, I just shared, if anyone, you know, relates to what I'm going through and they need somebody to talk to, please message me directly. I had so many old friends reach out to me, some of them going through like physical things, back operations and losing themselves. And then I had Jade reach out to me, and her son was born with a medical condition. We had a hole in his gut, and he was really, really sick for the first few years of his life, and especially the first few months. He was in NICU for months, pipes down his throat. They didn't know if he was going to make it or not. And it set her back financially, but also emotionally. It was really difficult for her having to deal with all of this. We were never great friends when we worked together. We were acquainted, but, you know, hospitality is so busy, kind of high and by each other. And we actually really got to know each other on a deeper level. And we've actually become really good friends since. And I managed to open a door to the virtual assistant world for her as well, where she could still be a full-time mom, be able to afford the best medical care that Sam possibly needs, and even have a second baby. She just had a little boy. He's almost a year old this year. So she was also able to grow her family, which were things that she wasn't even considering when she wasn't working remotely, because you have to be a wife, you have to be a mom, you want to work full time. It's just not that simple in today's life anymore. It isn't.
No.
So I didn't grow my family personally, but I managed to help a lot of other people grow theirs and also change their lives. And I think this is what we both love doing, Nikki, is why we're talking about this in the first place, that you need to look at different ways of, you know, working through this and allowing yourself to be the best two versions of yourself. So anyways, that's just a tip of the iceberg of all the other stories I can share with you, but I would love for you to open up a little bit more about yourself. I mean, when you and I started working together, I literally came as you went on mat leave, and you only spent like 3 months at home, and then you were back on scene, and little Zia was only 3 months old. How was that for you?
Yeah, you know, Lydia, before I go into that, I just want to say, you know, the fact that you had to go through all that and then to have an employer tell you to come in the next day, I mean, that's just, it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing in our society and culture to think that that's even acceptable. You know, there should be better regulations regarding that, because that shouldn't even be legal.
There's only maternity leave when your child's alive. Nobody considers maternity when your child died, because there's nothing to look after in their minds. But they don't realize how much healing needs to take place when a child dies.
I don't think you ever really heal, though.
No, you don't. You don't. You just learn to live with it. It's just part of life. But if you can help others, if you can take that sadness and turn it into a positive light where you can change other people's lives, that's where you get through. That's what makes you get
that's
through.
True. Yeah, and you know, thank you for bringing up my personal story. So I mean, it's not heartbreaking. It's more just, you know, the reality I had to face. So I mean, I'd first love to bring up my mom. You know, my mom was a single mother because my father had passed away when I was 8 years old, and she was working alone, and she had to go into work. And you know, whether we're sick or not feeling well or whatever, she had to go into work. She was working in town, so she had like a proper corporate, you know, job. And I never got to see my mom. I never spent time with her. I never, we didn't even have conversations about schoolwork. You know, she was just like not present in my life at all. And that's because her work was so demanding. And the kind of setup that she had, there was no support from employers or support from society for a single mom trying to look after her children. And I just remember it would be early in the morning. She'd drop me off at school. She'd go through to town to go work, and then we'll see her at 6 o'clock at the end of the day. And then she's tired, gets home, makes a quick dinner for everyone. We have some dinner, watch some TV, and everyone goes to bed. And I mean, that's just like I didn't even have the opportunity to really build a relationship with my mom growing up. And that's a very sad part of it. And so naturally, when I was pregnant, that's the last thing I wanted with my child. Like, it became such a priority for me. I want to be involved in my child's life. I want to see her grow up. I want to see her on a daily basis. I want to be able to drop her off at school and pick her up from school. I want to be at every single sports game, or whatever she does, whether that's music or acting or sports. I don't care. I want to be there, and yes. That's kind of the amazing opportunity that I did get with remote work, and as well as having that amazing opportunity to be able to have a nanny working from home. But I do know, in the UK,
and study.
Yes,
and allowing you to study. I don't even know when you sleep, but yes.
Well, the both of us. But anyway. The fact that I'm able to have a nanny, is such a big blessing, but I know it's not the same for women in the UK, because childcare in the UK,
so expensive.
I actually got a stats on that I'd love to share. So in Great Britain, the average cost of sending a child under the age of 2 to nursery is £300 a week full time. So that is about £14,000 a year. I mean, that is just... it's insane. I mean, if you look at the average, what's the starting salary called?
Wage.
Yeah, minimum wage. If you look at the average minimum wage, I think it's 24 at the moment. 24. And I mean, if you look at that, £14,000 a year, you've got £10,000 left for yourself, and you don't have your rent paid or your mortgage paid, travel expenses, food, the light.
Let's not even talk about nappies and formula when you have an
exactly.
infant. I mean,
exactly. So it's just crazy. I mean, it's childcare is, for the rich. So that's quite a scary statistic. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have friends that stay there, and I mean, they literally stayed at home. Hanneli, one of my friends, she actually managed to be able to study while, she had her son at home for the first few years of his life, because it was actually cheaper for her to study and stay at home than it was for her to work full time. So she did take advantage of that situation by the time that he could go to normal school. But even in South Africa, if you compare it, pre-primary, like we call it in our country, and creche is way more expensive than them going to school. I mean, for a good daycare, even back before I was a VA, and this is again another thing that made it great for us becoming VAs, because our salaries are so competitive in the market. It was about 6,500 Rand a month for a pre-care school, and all they do is like eat, sleep, and learn about
whatever
the basics of life. It's not even that intense. I just don't get it. But anyways, So yes, it is actually quite sad seeing the statistics like this. That it shouldn't be that expensive to look after an infant. And but you also don't want to go for a cheaper route, especially overseas as well, because you don't know who's going to look after your child. You do want them to be safe. So again, like I said previously to you, it's a catch-22 to me. But we can look at solutions, and different ways that moms could possibly have the best of both worlds. And I'm going to dive into that, if that's okay, Nikki. So a couple of things that I've discussed that could be a possible solution when you are working and you want to grow in the industry is to look at something like co-op childcare. Co-op childcare is where you work together with other moms that maybe work in a similar industry with you, and you make turns looking after your babies. And, you know, obviously you have to have a really close relationship with those moms, because I won't just drop my kid by anyone, and I'm sure no other mother would either. But if you start familiarizing with new moms in the industry and you become friends with them, I think it's a great balance to not just help with children, but also have like mental support, discussing your weekly challenges and being tired together and laughing about it. I mean, Ryder's much older than what Zia is. My son is 9, Zia is 1, but there are days like when Nick and I would get online and be like, oh my goodness, like winter's here, flu's here, we're all tired, kids are sick. And even if though there's an 8-year gap, we can still relate to each other and support each other in the same way. So yes, another option, looking at shared nanny. I'm not exactly sure what the going rates are for nannies. I know there's a lot of au pairs that also leave South Africa and go help bigger families in the UK, but generally it's really rich and wealthy families that travel often. But if you have a friend in the industry that also has a baby and you could possibly share a nanny, that would also save on costs. And of course, within close proximity of one another, so that, you know, you can have turns of where babies would be at whose house, and, you know, meet at the park, nanny takes over, have some catch-ups, discuss some ways of moving forward in business, or helping each other with market appraisals, or whatever is needed. Just having that support structure once again is quite a nice balance on the best and the best of both ends.
Yeah, and I mean, just on also another stat on having a shared nanny, you could save up to 40% on costs. 40% goes a long way.
Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It's so needed for those nappies and formula.
Yeah.
And then remote assistance, working from home, having remote support in somebody that is client facing and able to speak with clients. And then, of course, being able to handle work when not able to. So if you're working from home and you have your little one at home and you have a VA working with you, they can be front facing. They can run your business. They are your right hand. And it's become more and more a norm having VAs. I really feel it makes part of the future. So being a new mom, having your VA take all of that administrative weight off your shoulders is already going to give at least half your day back to being a mother. It's going to allow for you, especially during the times when baby sleeps, you can focus on whatever you need to focus on. But when baby's awake, hand it over to the VA. VA can book in your market appraisals, make sure your admin's up to date, respond to emails on your behalf. They don't even know the difference.
Handle your inquiries,
Yes, something really important. They can say, okay, quickly check this out, open line of communication on WhatsApp. It's really going to allow you to balance your life better. And then, of course, family help. Not all of us are that lucky. I lost my mom when I had my son, for example. My mom literally died the morning I went into her Ryder. What I wouldn't give to have a gran, to look after the kids. But today is a perfect example.
No, family help is a blessing if you have that. Yeah, because I was also just having a conversation with my brother and sister-in-law this weekend. And they moved to the UK and they didn't have any family support because they were living there alone. And they just spoke about how difficult that was. So definitely, if you've had that family support, make the best of it.
Yes. I don't know. I could just as well be living in the UK because I don't have any family support. It's just me and Rudy. Rudy's family stays on the other side of South Africa, which can pretty much be classified as overseas, Mpumalanga. My other sister stays in Europe. My middle sister is permanently on holiday between Mozambique and one of the other resorts. And let's face it, we don't leave our kids with 40s dads. They were not raised to babysit because they had our mothers, and we don't have grands. So again, doing what I'm doing allows me to do really well in my job because I can chuck my kid on the couch like today. Right, is sick. School called me yesterday. Had to come home. Don't want to make any other child sick. I don't have to leave him with a nanny or daycare or drop him off somewhere else because I work from home. So get him ready, put him in front of the TV, just check in on him from time to time, give him his meds. It allows me to still work full time. I don't have to leave the office to look after my kid. So having your VA, even if they have kids, they can still be there for you.
That's true. That's actually also what I want to touch on is, okay, so Latia, you and I, of course, are in that position where we have a job that's remote. So it offers a lot of flexibility. And, this is now also, there needs to be a responsibility on the employers as well. Yes, these solutions that you've provided is fantastic. And it does offer, solutions to those who don't have that flexibility. But just touching on, employers needing to start set up their work environments for their employees in such a way that their employees can support their children and can support their families. I'd love to also just share some stats on that. So research shows that when looking for a job, 80% of people would value a company who offers flexible working options. For example, not to mention childcare can be massively beneficial for retention, with 54% of working parents reporting feeling distracted at work due to childcare issues. It only makes sense to offer some form of childcare to help boost employees' productivity and engagement levels. So some examples of this could be workplace nursery schemes. So that could either be on site or it could be a local childcare. So you can actually have an agreement with the local childcare facility, and you could get a discounted rate because of that agreement that the employer has with this facility. Then also McKinsey & Company, which is a magazine, found that of more than 20 possible reasons given for leaving their job in the past 6 months, parents cited caring for family as a top 5 reason. And more money and annual leave isn't enough to keep them. So what is the solution to this? They're suggesting allow work from home. So yes, employers, just offering more annual leave or offering more money isn't necessarily the solution. A parent's time isn't for sale. Yes. Yes. And, a lot of parents, they need to spend maybe an hour to work, an hour back. They see that as valuable time they could have spent with their child. And I think really in today's world, more and more parents really do value time spent with children. It's so important for parents to be involved with their children's lives. So allowing work from home really is the way to go. I think if COVID has shown us anything, it's that you can have remote workers and that your business will operate the same, if not better. And then also another tip that you can do is, parenting apps. Pay for parenting apps for your employees. Pay for their, access to these apps, because this allows them access to a community, access to tips and support for other people that's going through exactly the same thing they're going through. And also, there might be facilities listed on there. There might be kind of places where they can take their children that they might not have been aware of prior to joining an app like this. So definitely, if you really want to show that you're supporting your employees to start their families and you're supporting women in a state agency, then that's something that you can also look at. Any closing notes, Latia?
Yes, well, just kind of touching base on what you just mentioned. When you have all of these things in place, there are so many great benefits that comes out of being looked after and supported by your employer. I mean, as an example, and what you mentioned about your mom earlier, I had the same experience with my mom. My mom, even though I had my dad as well, I had 2 older sisters that were both at uni, and my parents had to carry so much financial aid to get the 2 of them to finish their studies that my mom left work at 5 a.m, and she would drive the little bus to the mine and pick up all the people that had to drive with her, and she'd get home 7 o'clock at night. I started peeling potatoes when I was like 9, helping her cook dinner. I mean, she really, really trained me well in the kitchen from a young age, but I did whatever was needed in order to just have some time with her. And I promised myself I'd do it differently. I didn't want to miss matches with Ryder. I don't want to not be present, even if it's something as simple as working in the tuck shop for an hour to showing, that I'm present and I'm helping. Working remotely allows me to do all of the above, and our employer is very supportive of us having families because he has a family himself. And one thing I have picked up when people work hybrid roles is improved employee productivity. I mean, we get this daily just from having remote workers, and at least half of our VAs are parents. Our clients say that the remote workers that they have an increase in productivity compared to people in an office space because there's no chit-chat that takes place. So it's not always a lose for the employer. If you have a hybrid role, you actually most likely will get more out of your your employee than you would have if they were just based in an office.
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, enhances your retention rate with employees, because if a happy employee is not going to go anywhere or look for anything better. If they are looked after and there is a good balance in their lives and they actually enjoy what they're doing, because it's allowing them to also be the other part of themselves, a mother or a father, it's automatically going to let them stay with you. They're not going to want to leave. They're not going to go and look for something better because they're happy where they are. And then may I add, from an employer's perspective, if you as an employer look at everything that Nikki just mentioned about different ways that you can better the lives of your employees, it's going to give you a positive company image. It's going to increase employee loyalty, and it's going to attract a diverse workforce. So these are definitely things that could benefit you as the employer as well. And then, of course, also allow for those amazing female stats to take place within your business, because mostly moms look after the children.
There we go. Thanks for that, Latia. So yes, so that's all we had to discuss today. I would also just like to end off with, why do you not have enough women in leadership in your company? If you look at the stats, there's a lot to support why that's beneficial for you. But we're not saying that childcare is the number one reason or the only reason that there is little kind of leadership in a state agency. This is just the stat that we really wanted to look at today, because this really touched on my and Latia's personal experiences, our lives, and what we've experienced in the estate agency industry, both in the UK and in South Africa. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us again on our channel. If you'd like to hear any other topics that we have to discuss, then make sure you subscribe to our channel and push the notification bell to never miss a video again. So that's it for today. Thanks again for joining. We'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.